You.
I needed money 'cause I had none. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
You can try fighting the law all you want, but the law is always going to win. From politicians and celebrities to sports figures and business leaders, they're fighting the law. Now, here to sort out the nation's top legal news stories is America's favorite legal analyst, Royal Oakes. This is the Royal Oakes Show.
Robbing people with a 6-gun. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
Thank you, Mike Warren, and welcome to the Royal Oakes Show. And happy Saturday to you, our co-host Ken Jeffries.
Hey
How you
there.
doing, Ken?
Happy Saturday to you and to Connor.
Thank
you very much.
Our millennial correspondent, Connor. How are you doing?
Very well, thanks. Happy to be here as always.
I think Ken owes us an explanation for his shirt. I'm quoting now. It says, "Everybody has an addiction. Mine just happens
Can
to
you see
be
that? Can you see
to be
these shirts?
Gibbs." Okay, and it's got a picture of Mark Harmon. Now, Ken, I can understand a teenage girl
Right.
having a picture of Mark Harmon on her shirt.
He's stunning.
But now you're going to have to explain to us.
So I got a man crush on him, okay?
Sure.
You're a big fan of the show?
Oh, yeah, I love NCIS. It's
Huge
great.
ratings.
Now-
It's always in the top 10. Sometimes it's near the very top.
Is there kind of a controversy? Is it like a Backstreet Boys NSYNC thing? Either you're a fan of NCIS or you're a fan of CSI, and you never the twain shall meet.
Well, I think it's NCIS. It depends. Both shows are aging now.
A bit.
And the CSI is kind of dying off, I think. 'cause-
Really?
Well, they killed off, CBS killed off the big CIS. What is it? CSI, which was based in Las Vegas. They killed off the mother show, I guess, if you want to call it. And then,
That's a death knell.
aren't there any other CSIs?
You know-
well, there used to be CSI Miami. That's
has
gone.
slipped my mind.
CSI New York is gone.
Ken, I'm still trying to get through The Honeymooners and The Dobie Gillis Show.
Yeah, the Honeymooners are.
Speaking of older shows, I have kind of a pet peeve. You know, nowadays, the high-tech stuff is so great. You get a voicemail, but you don't just get a voicemail. You get a transcript of the voicemail on your
Absolutely.
screen,
It's
like
awesome.
an email. Well, my name is Royal, and it doesn't seem like it would be that hard for it to come out right.
That's a real
But
English
guess
word.
how Royal comes out when they have a transcript of a voicemail? Every single time, Rachel. Rachel. Now, I will say,
Rachel.
if I were going to be one of the female people on Friends,
On Friends,
sure.
then
Yeah.
it would be
You'd be
Jennifer
Rachel.
Aniston.
You
She
would be-
my
you're
choice.
totally a
But I
Rachel,
still would prefer, nothing against the whole gender neutral thing. I would prefer, my toxic masculinity name, Royal.
Right.
But
Of course.
it always comes out Rachel every single time.
Rachel's kind of the villain of Friends, by the way, just so you know.
At least they didn't say Royal Highness. They could have said
No.
Highness. And,
I think that would have been a little
I
better.
got a text from my
Ken, you're
wife
Joey.
in the form of a voice, which was really weird. I can actually play it. I don't know if it would come out.
Please don't.
We'll set it up during the
No,
break.
later. Yeah, no, you don't want to hear.
And
But
we'll do
it
it.
was real. It was like a robot repeating.
Yeah,
my
that's
wife's
creepy.
voice.
I
It
don't
was
like that.
Maybe
And
she-
it was a woman, I think.
Right.
But it was just yeah, it was creepy.
And she was saying
playing a joke on you.
saying she's a Nigerian prince and she needs you to send her.
I
back
am a
to Ghana.
Nigerian prince.
Exactly.
And
So-
the money's in the mail.
Our top story tonight, we always have some top stories we get to a little later in the show. The Trump pardon situation. Is he going to pardon himself? Is he going to pardon everybody that all the NFL people who take a knee want him to pardon? Kim Kardashian came through with her victory this week. The Supreme Court cake decision, just a narrow slice of cake. It was not a broad decision. We're going to talk about the judge up in Northern California who was recalled because he gave a light sentence to a swimming rapist. And then there's the family separation at the border. These are the big stories we're going to cover. But our show is now called Dessert First, Royal Oak Show, meaning we talk about the
Tasty.
fun, bizarro world stuff before
Yeah.
we get to the top story. So let's get into that. Our feature, of course, that we love to have is Moron of the Week. We have two candidates every show at the top of the show and at the bottom. Then we vote on who is the biggest moron of the week. So let's get to our first candidate. It has to do with a guy who is known as the Whale Whisperer. Have you heard about this guy? He claims his name is Paul Gilman. He claims he's the Whale Whisperer because he has used language, music as a universal language to communicate with the great leviathans of the deep. So he has expertise in sound waves. It's
Oh yeah, just like that.
yeah, just like that. And so he collected $3.3 million from investors to talk to the whales, like Dr. Doolittle.
Right.
Only he did very little. because the fact of the matter is it was all a scam. It was a Ponzi scheme deal.
Oh.
Yes, he actually...
Wasn't he on Happy Days, by the way, Ponzi? I can't remember
Well,
anymore.
Fonzie
Wow.
jumped the shark,
That's
and
true.
so
Fonzie
he was
jumped the
talking
shark.
to the shark.
Very good.
Whale
Very good.
shark.
Very
Yeah.
good. Very good.
So
Okay.
anyway, this
Connection
guy,
there.
he just spent money lavishly
See,
on
Bernie
himself.
made off of the sea, I
Yeah,
guess.
he made off with the money.
Made off with the money.
So I would say...
How have I never heard that pun before?
Yeah, you never heard that. Right.
So this is our first candidate for Moron of the Week, a guy who thought he could get away with stealing $3.3 million and call himself the Whale Whisperer. Now, in addition to the Moron of the Week feature, we are introducing a new feature to the Royal Oak Show, and you guys are the stars of the show here because it's going to be a little bit like a game show. The new feature is called Guess the Verdict. So I'm going to read the facts of a couple of interesting cases, 3 actually, and we're going to keep track of how well you guys do guessing the verdict. Now, you ready for number 1?
Yeah, I'm ready to be the jury.
Here we go. Paul Shimkanis, a physical therapist from Florida, wound up needing physical therapy when he attended a bachelor party, and he suffered whiplash while getting a lap dance from a stripper named Tawny Peaks. He says she assaulted him. Ken, this is a serious personal injury.
Tawny
Injury.
Peaks.
The man is
The
hurt.
was just
Tawny
laughing his head off, and this guy has a serious injury.
Very
Sounds like a
injured.
TV show.
She assaulted him with her size 68 double H breasts.
Oh!
I didn't know the letters went up that high, but apparently they do. Slamming them on his head and almost knocking him out. He testified it felt like getting hit with a pair of cement blocks. He sued the Topless Club for $15,000. All right, so guys, what's your guess? Did he win or did he lose in this suit against the Topless Club?
So do we guess the win or lose?
Just the win.
And then
No, just the win.
just
or
the win or
lose. Yeah,
loss,
that's
okay.
all that's at stake in this particular case.
good, because it would be pretty hard to put a dollar
Yeah,
amount
it is.
on this sort of pain and suffering. But he managed $15,000. That's what he thinks he suffered. I'm gonna say that this is a buyer beware situation, and that the jury is going to look at this guy and go, "You got
Topless,
a lap dance
Topless Bar wins, in your
from
opinion.
Tawny Peaks, and you didn't want to get
Yeah.
whiplash
And
from
Ken-
those Tawny Peaks."
Ken, what's your
I'm
guess?
going
We're putting
to
Con
say
down
that
for-
he wins the case. I'm going to, just for the heck of it, just to be contrary, I guess.
You know, the Topless Bar won. So that's 1 for Con. Question number 2.
Thanks for keeping us abreast of that, by the way.
Amber Carson of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, slipped on a soft drink at a restaurant. Her injuries were severe, including a broken coccyx. Again, the establishment was being sued. They were upset because 30 seconds before slipping, during the heat of an argument, Ms. Carson had thrown a soft drink at her boyfriend that created the puddle on which she slipped. So, does Amber Carson win her personal injury suit against the store or not?
30 seconds before.
Yeah.
So this restaurant had 30 seconds to clean this spill up before she, in the midst of an ongoing argument, slipped in it.
Right.
Restaurant wins.
You think the restaurant wins?
Oh,
What about you, Ken?
Yes, I do. I agree.
Lock it in.
She won $113,000. So that's a 0 for both
What?
of you on that one.
What?
Third and final.
What?
Third
Wait
and
a
final
minute.
question. Yes.
What?
You can say what all you want, but the jury has spoken.
That's all I have to say.
Which
Last
jury is this,
question.
by the way. Yeah,
Lancaster.
There were 12 of them. 77-year-old man in Broward County, Florida, severe depression, kills his wife, then falls short of his goal to kill himself as well. He's charged with manslaughter, faces a possible 7-year sentence. He was found guilty. The judge sentenced him not to any time in prison, but sentenced him to sit down and watch a particular movie so he could be inspired by the film. So what do you think, this killer who got away with manslaughter but was ordered to watch a movie, a little bit like the whole Stanford thing with the swimmer, what movie do you think the judge ordered him to watch?
Notting Hill. No.
No? Well, you're thinking, Ken, perhaps
Yeah,
you
I
have
have the
you a guess?
answer.
You have
I
a
know the
guess?
answer.
O.J.
Oh,
Simpson's
okay.
If I Did It, the theatrical release.
No, not that one. No.
I say Death Wish.
No, it
not
wasn't.
Death
It
Wish.
wasn't Death Wish, Ken. I'm not sure why you were so confident.
Nicolas
Death Wish.
Cage
That was
Face
right.
Off.
Now, guys, I'm going to have to tell you, It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart.
What?
So he could see how George Bailey was shown life does have a purpose. Not bad, guys.
In
You know,
1941.
Connor got one right, and Ken is
nothing.
poised for greatness.
That is
next
why.
time
That is why I
we
went to
roll
law
out
school,
the feature.
so that I could win that game.
So
Be
we
victorious.
had the jungle primary in California this week,
Yes, we did.
and our esteemed former mayor in Los Angeles, Antonio
No,
Villaraigosa.
there we are.
I got the wrong Antonio.
And by the way, one of
I
the,
would've voted
the
for Banderas
MSNBC
in a
anchors,
second.
the MSNBC anchors couldn't get it right either. They
Really? How'd they get it wrong?
Villaraigosa,
Really?
and these are the
I
MSNBC.
think they'd have done their homework.
Well, we just need to send a SoCal anchor out there to anchor the national news for
Yeah.
once, so they could actually pronounce the thing.
He's gone anyway. So
did they
you know.
call Gavin Newsom
Gavin.
Tommy Newsom, the
Gavin,
guy from
the
Tonight Show?
Yeah, the Tonight Show, yeah.
So, were you guys surprised that Villaraigosa fell well short? Because
Yeah,
now the
that was
Republican,
yeah.
Mr. Cox, is going to be facing off.
He was a distant
against,
third, you know. And
Yeah, he was.
It was really unimpressive, and I think a lot of
And yet he
people-
spent a lot of money.
Yeah, I think a lot of people's response was he was personally an uninspiring candidate, and his mayoral tenure here in L.A.
Kind of uninspiring.
uninspiring. And while he
Although the LA Times endorsed him, they
him
slobbered all
glowing,
over it.
glowing.
Yeah.
They said he came in terrible economic times, and he made difficult choices, and the city was better off as a result, and he did the best he could. But it did have this sort of air of he did the best he could.
Were you
And
surprised
politicians
the LA
aren't-
Times
No, I
was so
was. The
favorable?
polling showed, because I followed the polling. This time the polling was right. And the polling showed Cox gaining on Villaraigosa, and the polling was absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And so, so the question is, does Antonio go away? And the problem is on the. By the way, the LA Times. I read the LA Times editorial in its entirety, and there were so many caveats to it. It was
Right.
like
And that's
we endorse
exactly-
them, however.
Right.
Yeah, da 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 da.
There's
You
a
know,
big
and-
but. Now, when you say does he go away, you talking about the missing votes, the 100,000 votes, or just go away in future? For
I think
future career?
it probably kills him politically.
Yeah.
And I know Doug McIntyre, a friend of KBC, said was wondering about that too. And I think he just goes away at least for a while, because I think he knows now nobody wants him.
Yeah.
I mean, not nobody. It's a generalization, but and on election day he said, well, if the Latinos show out in Los Angeles, then we have a chance. And then he complained about these roughly 120,000 votes in Los Angeles that went missing. Well, not the votes didn't go. People were not on the rolls.
Not on the rolls.
and
They
they
still got
did
to-
fill out provisional ballots.
Right.
And there were not 100. The maximum was about 120,000. Not all of them voted.
Right.
So that number is off too. And but that's a question that Dean Logan has to answer, and that's the LA County Clerk Recorder. What happened?
Yeah.
Who goofed? I've got. Was it
like Hillary's book. What happened?
What happened?
Well, was it a
Exactly.
printing error? And they still don't know. And the Board of Supervisors now, LA County, is launching an
I
investigation.
think
I
it was
wasn't on the
one
rolls.
giant hanging
Weird.
Chad.
That was it. That
Yeah,
was it.
but first, Villaraigosa said he called for his own investigation as well. But then a few minutes later, he conceded. So
Right.
Yeah, the writing was on the wall.
Then
at
that was
point
all
when you're that
moved
far
in.
behind.
So one of the big stories was that the Democrats dodged a bullet because there were a bunch of congressional districts in California where Hillary did really well, and the Democrats were thinking maybe we can flip and get the congressional seats there because Hillary did well there. And there were several of them where it looked like maybe there'd be two Republicans in the jungle primary approach facing off in November, because there were so many Democrats clamoring for
Right.
the seat.
Yeah.
But apparently, as I understand it, it didn't turn out that way in any district. I don't think there's any district in California among the ones they were targeting pro-Hillary, might flip over from Republican to Democrat, that wound up with two red
yeah,
candidates.
that's
in
my
November.
understanding as well.
So it was
I
all
don't
red and
believe-
blue versus each other in each race? I'm not sure. I think in
In
some
all
races
of
we're
the
not
critical
sure yet.
ones, in all of the critical
Yeah,
ones
there
where
are
the Democrats
some-
were hoping to come back.
There are some that were locked
know
up
there is-
already and had no chance, and those are.
Then there was
are
also
blue
the guy,
blue.
the congressman who was recalled because he voted for the gas tax.
Really, I didn't hear about that.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. The Republican who flipped over to the Democrats, and they got rid of him.
Wow.
By way of
I think
a
was
recall.
a Democrat. I think it was a Democratic. Was he a Democratic who voted for the gas tax?
I think he was a Republican who joined
was a
the Democrats,
Republican.
and the Republicans were not happy.
No.
And finally, Kevin De Leon didn't exactly put up much of a fight against Dianne
No, he
Feinstein.
didn't.
It's almost like there was no real need for Dianne to turn her back on her entire career and say, now I'm in favor of marijuana. Now I'm against capital punishment.
Maybe she tried it and it was great.
Perhaps she had a change of heart. Hey, folks, stay with us on the Royal Oak Show.
We'll be back on CRN with the Royal Oak Show. Come to Angelo's and Vinci's Restaurante to see memorabilia of movie stars and theatrical magic right in downtown Fullerton, California. The Art of the Great Masters in an Italian town square complete with storefronts of old, Italian butchers and cheesemongers, fruit and wine vendors, seamstresses showing their wares, the romance of Romeo and Juliet. Find our mystical Room of the Moon, and don't forget King Kong, Dracula, Frankenstein, and who knows what awaits you in the wine cellar. Enjoy the great food. We hand stuff our pastas, roll each and every tortellini, bake our own bread, and make all of our sauces fresh from our private stock of Sicilian family recipes. Pasta to seafood, chicken to award-winning pizzas, tiramisu flown in from Rome. If you can't find something on our menu to tempt you, you don't like Italian food. Try our Sunday brunch, all you can eat, just $21.95. And Angelo's and Vinci's has been named the best Italian restaurant in Orange County 2 years in a row, and our owner has been named Restaurateur of the Year. Angelo's and Vinci's, Fullerton, California, 714-879-4022 or angelosandvinci's.com. Enjoy Tiki Live, the best cable alternative choice today, with hundreds of premium live TV programming, including ESPN, CNN, Fox News, Disney, AMC, Bravo, XF, OWN, and CRN Talk. Plus no contracts and low month-to-month service. Tiki Live, servicing North America, including the Caribbean. To get started, visit TikiLive.com to order hundreds of channels, including CRN Talk, at a fraction of what you're paying today. Visit TikiLive.com. That's TikiLive.com.
It has been said that everyone has a book in them. But do you have the time or the ability to write your book? Maybe you picked up some skills or had a life experience that you want to pass on in the form of a book to help others. Maybe you want to leave an autobiography for your family. Or maybe you've built a successful business and you want to share your story. At Dorrance Publishing Company, we have professional writers who can help turn your book idea into a finished manuscript quickly and affordably. A Dorrance ghostwriter can provide as much or as little help as you need to complete your book. You'll work directly with your ghostwriter to finish your book faster than you ever could on your own. It's easy to become a published author. Call Dorrance now to learn more. 800-485-8803. 800-485-8803. 800-485-8803. Call right now. That's 800-485-8803.
Trying to sell your old car? Instead, donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind. Pickup is free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats, whether they run or not. Call right now and receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to over 50 locations. Call 1-800-785-9618. Donate your car today. That's 1-800-785-9618.
Welcome back to the Royal Oak Show with our co-host Ken Jeffries and our millennial correspondent Connor Oakes. So, were you guys a little surprised when the president came out and said, "Oh, you know, I've got the absolute right to pardon myself. I can pardon me"? I mean, even before you get into the interesting legal debate, constitutional debate over whether it's appropriate or not, to raise the issue, doesn't that suggest a certain level of guilt, culpability?
Yes,
I mean, it
absolutely
conveys the notion
does.
that he did something wrong. Now, in his defense, he immediately said, "Not that I've done anything wrong, but I've." Why would he do that? Why would he raise that as an issue?
Because he operates in the same way that you could say an abuser in an abusive relationship operates. They push boundaries as far as possible until they get a sense of pushback, and then they retreat, but they've made progress. So he doesn't care that everything he says is outlandish and wild and ridiculous and would implicate anybody else and make people draw a strange, "Oh, wow, why would he say that?" He says outrageous, ridiculous things constantly in order to just push it and then pull back, and then push it and then pull back, and see how everyone reacts to it and responds. And in the meantime, he's making progress, marching towards normalizing giving pardons out, towards his base just accepting and understanding and believing anything he says, which is, oh yeah, he has the power to do whatever he says he has the power to do because he's the president.
I don't know. I just thought it was weird.
It's insane.
It sends a message that, well, he might need to exercise it and so on. Interesting debate, though, over whether whether a president may pardon himself. And there was an interesting article in the Journal by a fellow named Richard Epstein Bernstein. He's a law professor at New York University. And he pointed out the arguments. He said, first of all, that skeptics argue that the pardon power is constrained by Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution that says the president shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. And the claim is that this take care clause prevents a presidential self-pardon because it's inherently in his own self-interest. He also says, well, it would violate the fiduciary duty to serve the interests of the people over himself. And then finally, in 1974, the Justice Department rejected the self-pardon idea by invoking the principle that no one may be a judge in his own case. Now, those are interesting, some would say good-sounding arguments, but the fact is there is no rule or decision by the U.S. Supreme Court. And so I think a president, whether it's Trump or anybody else, would have a right to say, you know, it's certainly not settled, and there's nothing in the Constitution. There's no asterisk that says, but of course, you may not pardon yourself, Mr. President. And this professor points out some other arguments. He said that the president does far more than execute laws. He has the power to make appointments and negotiate treaties and so on. That involves executing the law, and the president is not acting as a judge when he pardons another person. So why would he suddenly become a judge, who has to be impartial, when pardoning himself? So there certainly are two sides to the coin. I mean, politically, it would just be poisonous to your image and so on.
Yeah, of course.
to
Especially
do
because
that.
because inherent in the pardon is, as many have pointed out, admission that you did the wrong for which you need to be pardoned.
Right.
And therefore, and pardons are treated as an admission of guilt, but it's okay for some reason. And Trump would almost certainly not be okay with admitting that he had done anything wrong, because he's never admitted that he did anything wrong in his entire life, personally or politically, so he's not going to start now. He would probably try and do something completely unprecedented, which is to say, pardon somebody for something, although they were not convicted of it and have not admitted to it, and try to get away from that sort of baseline, there is guilt underneath, but it's okay for a specific reason. And I mean, it would just be poison politically for so many other reasons, most specifically that's not how people's intuitive understanding of a pardon works. They think of a pardon as something that is a piece of mercy that you bestow on someone else for a good reason. There's no one in the world who says it comports with my understanding of why we would have a pardon power that the president could pardon himself.
And
There's
certainly
only these
Nixon
loopholes.
didn't pardon himself. We know, speaking of poison, you're old enough
And
to
that
remember, Ken.
and that killed Jerry Ford's re-election chances.
People really rejected
that's
that idea.
Supposedly, but but Trump, Trump does what Trump wants, and he'll be the first to tell you that. I mean,
So let's expand the discussion about pardons, because it's really interesting. Anything having to do with Kim Kardashian is inherently interesting, of course. That picture of her standing next to the desk, looking very serious in the Oval Office, and Trump is sitting at the... And did you notice the desk was totally clean? I mean, I was so impressed.
She feels like it was never used.
I don't know.
5 Coke cans.
So
just line up
here's
on the
this
side.
discussion. I mean, every president, except I think George W. was under 100, but every other president in recent times, hundreds of pardons. And so maybe it's not so weird for Trump to say, hey, y'all in the NFL that took a knee, you got some guys in your criminal justice system you want me to take a look at? Come on down, let's talk. How weird was that?
I mean, it's extremely weird. And what happened is his Kim Kardashian photo op went so well, and he's such a hype man, a PR monster, that all he understands is that went well, and he thought, oh, I'll just do it again. And now it'll also be a dig at them where I say, you don't really have any complaints because you won't come forward. He's like calling their bluff. Their answer ought to be, there are millions of people currently incarcerated. How about you pardon everyone with a marijuana conviction?
How about you write a letter to the president and convey these thoughts?
Yeah!
A narrow slice of cake coming up after this.
We'll be back on CRN with the Royal Oak Show.
Hey Lorraine, do you realize that your mother, my mother-in-law, Chef Maria, has been serving Las Vegas since 1949?
Yes, I do, Dennis. That's when she first met Howard Hughes, who fell in love with her cooking.
And in 1955, she opened her first restaurant on Fremont Street.
Yes, dear. And another great customer was Liberace.
Wow. Then in 1962, while Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack were causing global excitement on the Las Vegas Strip, your family opened their second restaurant.
And in 1970, 1972, Elvis Presley began electrifying Las Vegas audiences and eating in our restaurants.
You know, Lorraine, this is quite a town. There's only one Las Vegas.
And there's only one Bootlegger Italian Bistro.
Folks, when you're in Las Vegas, come visit us. We'll make you feel like you're part of our family.
The Bootlegger Italian Bistro, conveniently located at 7700 Las Vegas Boulevard, South Strip. Visit our website at www.bootleggerlasvegas.com.
Do you want to fly somewhere, anywhere in the world? Smart travelers call myflightsearch.com for the best deals on flight tickets. Going to Manila, Bangkok, London, how about Singapore? Call myflightsearch.com for the lowest flight tickets available. What about a local vacation? Let's say you want to fly to Vegas, Orlando, Miami, Los Angeles, or Denver. Pick up the phone and call myflightsearch.com right now. We have exclusive deals that you can't find anywhere else. The only way you can get these low airline prices is by calling us. We have so many low prices available, we can't possibly tell them to you right here and now. If you're flying somewhere anytime in the next 6 months and you want the lowest airline ticket prices anywhere, you owe it to yourself to save a ton of money. So pick up your cell phone and call myflightsearch.com right now.
Call 800-445-3166. 800-445-3166. That's 800-445-3166. Call now. 800-445-3166.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you could donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now, 1-800-785-9618. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
It has been said that everyone has a book in them. But do you have the time or the ability to write your book? Maybe you picked up some skills or had a life experience that you want to pass on in the form of a book to help others. Maybe you want to leave an autobiography for your family. Or maybe you've built a successful business and you want to share your story. At Dorrance Publishing Company, we have professional writers who can help turn your book idea into a finished manuscript quickly and affordably. A Dorrance ghostwriter can provide as much or as little help as you need to complete your book. You'll work directly with your ghostwriter to finish your book faster than you ever could on your own. It's easy to become a published author. Call Dorrance now to learn more. 800-485-8803. 800-485-8803. 800-485-8803. Call right now. That's 800-485-8803.
Welcome back to the Royal Oak Show with our co-host Ken Jeffries and our millennial correspondent Connor Oakes. So the U.S. Supreme Court came out with a big decision this week. A bunch of big decisions are on their docket. They always finish up June 30 because they want to go have a wild and crazy time in July and August on vacation and September. Of course, they come back 1st October. So the baking the wedding cake decision. A gay couple in Colorado, they go to a cake baker and they say, "Oh, we'd love to have a gay marriage cake and 2 men on top." I don't know what the deal was. 2 bridegrooms on the top, or was it an expression? You know, gay marriage is good, or something that made it clear to the cake baker that, doggone it, this is celebrating gay marriage.
Probably,
so
he
he
probably
said,
the 2 guys, I would think.
Probably. So he said, "I'm sorry, guys, it's against my religion."
Right.
And so they go to the Colorado Commission on Civil Rights, and they say, "Oh boy, the cake baker loses big time," and boom, up it goes to the U.S. Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. So the court had a chance to help us all out. Who wins? Does the freedom of religion trump the people who say, "Oh no, anti-gay discrimination is against the law," or do the folks who claim sexual orientation discrimination is wrong, and you open your doors, your dry cleaner or cake seller or whatever,
right?
And they had a chance, but they dodged the issue, and they didn't decide for either side. What they said was, You know that Colorado Commission on Civil Rights? Those folks were hostile to religion. Read the transcript. One of the guys said, religion is responsible for the Holocaust and a bunch of other crappy stuff throughout history. And so the U.S. Supreme Court, by a 7-2 vote, with vote of 2 of the 4 liberals, said, the cake baker wins, but not because he has an automatic, absolute right to say, I'm not going to exercise my artistic cake baking skills in connection with gay marriage, but instead they were condemning the decision. Was it frustrating to you that the court didn't actually bite the bullet and make a decision?
Very. I mean, we had a previous, I can't remember what it was called, Masterpiece Cakes or something, previous decision, and this was sort of a reversal of it, but not really on the merits. And of course, I would like to see the result that I think is the right one, but at the same time, honestly, with today's Supreme Court, now that the Republicans, I don't want to say borrowed a seat from the Democrats in terms of nominating Merrick Garland, this Supreme Court is not going to give us the results that liberals want anyway. So I'll take a draw, right? I'll take a narrow decision. We'll go back to the drawing board and see it again in 5 years. I'll take anything. Other than some other horrific decision that you really expect out of the Supreme Court at the moment. So, I'll play for a draw. That's fine.
What do you think, Ken?
I'll quote my good friend Doug McIntyre on KABC in a sense. In the sense, McIntyre had a point where if you ran a Jewish deli, for instance, would you be required to sell a ham sandwich to somebody?
Okay, good point.
Now, I mean a kosher deli that is strictly kosher, because most of them are not, but that's kind of a point.
I think
maybe is it apples and oranges or cakes?
I think it's totally apples and oranges. I mean,
we're
talking here about.
Let me give you my.
It's really I'm not even. I don't know what to say about it.
Well, let me give you my perspective, Con, because I know where you're coming from on this. But to me, it's one thing when you open your doors and say, okay, you want us to dry clean something, we'll do it. You want to buy something that's on the shelf, we'll do it. But if someone who opens their doors to the public is asked to do something that they find personally repugnant, for example, let's say 2 homophobic people come in and they want to get married, a man and a woman, and they say, please bake us a cake that has a gay slur on it. Or 2 maniac Nazis come in and say, we want a wedding cake and we want you to put a nice big swastika on it. I would be sympathetic to the guy who says, it offends me morally, it offends my religion, I don't want to be part of homophobic or Nazi stuff. So if a person is entitled to say that seems reasonable to me. Why shouldn't a person also be able to say, hey, I believe it's in the Bible, I think gay marriage is bad, so don't tell me I have to design this beautiful cake and exercise my artistic ability to honor that.
I hear what you're saying, but I think that your sexual orientation is, as has been decided in previous cases, a protected status that you can't be, for example, fired or not hired for or discriminated against in other scenarios. We've understood that is a valuable thing in our society, that people aren't discriminated against on the basis of their sexual orientation or gender or race or whatever. It's one of those important categories that people have been the victim of discrimination based on in the past. And therefore, it's a little different than saying you going in and saying, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Nazi, I'm a communist.
But you're forcing the baker to do something, in this case, against his or her will.
Yes, you are. You're
going to get a crummy cake maybe as a result.
Well, that might well be true, but it's really more about the principle moving forward.
And there's a problem because you're going to run into some people who say, oh, well, my personal religious belief is that black people are bad.
Yeah.
And another gray area, and there are a billion hypothetical situations. Let's say you're a really religious, fundamentalist, Christian-type person who really thinks folks living in sin is just really
super bad. Yeah.
And you own a boarding house, and a young man and a young woman show up, age 30, living in sin. Oh, we'd like to rent a room. Should you have a right to say no to them? I think actually courts have disagreed on that very question.
Because what you're really doing is discriminating against them on the basis of their religion by saying you are not the religion and don't practice the religion that would make what you're doing here wrong. And therefore, on that basis, we say, it'd be like discriminating against somebody for being an atheist or being a Hindu because they don't follow Christianity. Whether they're an atheist or Hindu, all that really matters in this boarding house lady's mind is that they aren't following her Christian religion or her perspective. And so, that is, again, a problem because then we start to think that religious people live their whole lives specific ways based on, the writings in a book somewhere, and as a result, they could
on a tablet.
Oh, true. You could extrapolate their behavior outward and outward and say that everything is their religious belief, basically, because they live their whole lives by it and everything they do abides by it, and therefore anything that they do, they can throw up their hands and say that's covered by my religious freedom. And that's a problem. And we do have to start drawing lines at some point. We know that lunch counters can't deny you based on your race. For some reason, cake shops can. Is it something magical about cakes and weddings and the fact that we're totally tied up in emotion? We think of wedding as a religious idea, and because this guy's making cakes, he's sort of involved in the wedding industrial complex, and he should be able to get a pass for that because it's all sort of a big religious thing. Well, I say screw it. I don't think religion should have a monopoly on weddings and marriage.
Hey, don't hold back now.
I've never heard of the wedding industrial complex.
Eisenhower wanted that. That's exactly right. Yes, he did.
I'm a guy in my 20s with a girlfriend that I've lived with.
I just want to shove something in here, so to speak, and it's when I worked in Hazleton, Pennsylvania, at a radio station here back in the 70s. I went to a boarding house, I guess, and I needed a place to stay. I knocked on the door, the landlady answered, and we talked a little bit about rent and stuff. And I said, by the way, can I have friends up here? Women up here? Can I bring them up? And she gave me a great answer, and the answer she gave me was within the law. And I thought that was a wonderful answer, and I didn't stay there. I stayed someplace else.
Right. Because you wanted to break the law.
I wanted to break the law. No, I didn't.
So she thought you were either going to kill women or hire prostitutes?
Yeah, that's about
that. What was going on?
There weren't any in Hazleton to speak of. No, but I thought that was a wonderful answer.
Yeah, that was good.
Within the law, whatever the law was, I don't know.
Last cake issue is an intriguing one. It actually has to do with the travel ban. Some people are speculating that the sensitivity by the U.S. Supreme Court to the rights of religion, the fact that they're dumping on the Colorado Commission for being anti-religion, might help the Supreme Court issue a decision soon in the next few weeks saying that the travel ban is down. We're going to vote against it because of Trump's alleged anti-Muslim bias. His campaign statements and Rudy Giuliani's statements that, we want a Muslim ban, and that really was the secret agenda behind the travel ban.
So the Colorado, they refer, in the cake case, they referred to this Colorado panel as somebody making a statement against, against religion, you said?
Yeah. They said
so they could do the same thing in a way against Trump.
Exactly.
I can see that thought, and I'm just not going to count on the conservative majority on Supreme Court.
Anthony Kennedy and Chief Justice Roberts are basically the deciders.
Yeah, it's true.
So, next big story we wanted to cover is the judge in Northern California who has been dumped off the bench because he gave a very light sentence to the Stanford swimmer who raped the unconscious lady. And a lot of people are worried that judicial independence is out the window, that the judge may have given a pretty strange decision, but it essentially was the same as the recommendation by the prosecution. And a lot of people are worried that if judges have to look over their shoulder and read the headlines and see how popular or unpopular their decisions are, then maybe they're going to start making decisions that aren't so judge-like, but instead are designed to be political and go along so they can keep their jobs.
And I get that. I mean, in theory, yes, judicial independence is a good thing. In theory, we want judges not to be thinking about how things will play with the public. But our sense of morality and what's the right result in a lawsuit or a criminal case is based on our morality, and our morality is based on public opinion, culture, society, everybody looking in and deciding what justice is and isn't. And to have judges be completely immune is one good strategy. I think a better strategy is for, if you can hack it, to have judges be almost completely immune from oversight and judgment by the public. For them to
and they kind of are, because this is like once in 100 or 200 years.
Rare. So I think this is, personally, I think this situation is justice served. I think this situation is the one in 1,000 or 10,000 or 10 million or whatever, where a judge makes a decision so egregious that he deserves to get yanked. And I think that it's a good thing that we have the opportunity for a once-in-a-million opportunity for this sort of extrajudicial sort of remedy here. Not that it fixes the problem of the guy getting a light sentence, really, but it at least maybe prevents it in the future. And it happens so rarely that I don't really see it being a slippery slope problem.
You mentioned the prosecution recommended the same sentence?
Essentially, yeah. I don't know that it was exactly, but I think it was basically the same.
Then
maybe
they should recall the DA too.
Well,
I mean, I'm sure. I
don't know. Maybe. Of course, that raises the question. What about the fact that the DA and the judge and all the other participants in the trial, they were there for every second of the trial.
True.
They actually
Yes.
looked at the witnesses in the eye. They judged their credibility. They looked over all the paperwork and so on. Those of us who comment on these cases and are critical sometimes, we are at a disadvantage because we don't have the full picture. And some people say that, your point is every once in a while, if it's egregious, they should be booted out, and that's certainly true. But some people say, these judges do have to stand for re-election, and so maybe recall should. I think the bottom line is that we definitely want to endorse the principle of judicial independence because we do not want judges making decisions on any basis other than what is absolutely right, because they have literally the power of life and death,
they do.
of incarceration or freedom.
I think, though, there is a little bit of a difference between saying, well, there's an issue with saying he was in the courtroom, he looked in the guy's eyes, he looked in the witness's eyes. Those are all issues that go to the credibility of the witnesses as to whether he actually did it. There's no dispute that he actually did it, and if there is, then there's a broader question about the finding of, the burden of proof and whether it passed the bar that it had to pass beyond a reasonable doubt. So the real question in my mind isn't, did we look deeply in this guy's eyes and say, what did he deserve? We know what crime he committed. And this judge, absent and independent and completely, totally separate from the fact that this guy looked up and said, I'm a really changed man, it's really bad. He deserves a certain amount of punishment. And this punishment was so far below that threshold that no matter how sympathetic and how much of a changed man he said he is, no reasonable person would say he should get this light a sentence. And that's really the problem, is there is a brick wall between did he do it, there's won't they questions there, credibility's bad, witnesses say one thing and another and they lie and who knows, and if he did it, does he deserve X punishment?
So let's talk about family separation. Immigration in the news again. A lady and her kid, they show up at the border, they cross the border, they're now in the United States, and they are illegal. And whoops, they get nabbed. And she says, I want asylum. I want refugee status.
Right.
I'll be persecuted if you send me home. So what happens is that the system takes her, and we're going to deal with your asylum request. You illegally crossed the border. And the system also says her kid gets shipped up to a situation in Chicago where the kid is taken care of while the mom has her asylum request handled.
Right.
And everybody's going nuts. And they're saying you are separating families.
Yes.
And so Jeffrey Sessions, ever sympathetic, says, well, you shouldn't have broken the law. You shouldn't have crossed the border.
Right.
And so the Trump administration is kind of looking bad because right, left, conservative, liberal, people don't like the idea of families being separated.
Right.
But there is the fact that mom did make the decision to bring little Tina with her when she crossed the border illegally.
Yeah, no one's arguing that they haven't come here illegally, although as asylum seekers, there is a process by which, you are applying for asylum and you are going through a legal process during that. It's just that you have not yet been granted that asylum. But to say that because someone has broken a procedural law, it's not like they have stolen from somebody or murdered somebody, though it is a criminal statute to cross the border. This is a punishment that they're undergoing accidentally, right? We're not punishing these people by separating them from their children. We shouldn't be. There are very, very few people who would say, oh, well, as part of the punishment for breaking the law, we should take away your kids. That is extreme, and no one really is on that side except the very extreme conservatives who say it's some sort of deterrent to people bringing their kids here. People are like the reasonable conservative, in my mind at least, and from what I've heard, is saying it's a necessary part of the process, and we have to have kids' facilities and adults' facilities, and it's all so much more efficient and reasonable. And other people are saying no amount of efficiency is worth it. It's not that you can't accommodate families living together. It's that you won't, and you don't care enough about the horrific conditions they're living under with their kid, hundreds or thousands of miles away and completely cut off from any contact. It's just not important enough to you, but it should be.
So are you guys fans of Westworld? You like the show about the robots?
I haven't seen it. I know about the original movie with Yul Brynner, I guess it was, but
it's the
I
same
just
concept.
don't know.
The robots go nuts and start killing everybody. And they become
sexier.
self-aware and so on.
Right.
So Amazon, it's not lost on Amazon, they have an army of 100,000 robots, and we just better hope that they don't go nuts. And people are criticizing Jeff Bezos, who, by the way, is so wealthy. they figured out his wealth is such that if he wanted to, he could buy every house in L.A. County that is currently listed for sale. Every single one. And still have a few bucks left over in his jeans. Yeah. So the problem is these 100,000 robots are putting lots of Amazon employees out of business.
Yeah.
But Bezos is claiming, oh, no, we just, are trying to be safe
March of the
and be more
machines.
efficient. Yeah. So when a jar of popcorn butter recently smashed on the floor in one of the fulfillment centers for Amazon, the robots became endlessly fascinated by the buttery mess over the floor. They kept driving over to inspect it and falling over.
Oh my God, we live in the
so
future.
that's proof.
Oh my
we
God,
could have
live in
done
the
better.
future.
Ken, you wouldn't have fallen over in a buttery mess.
No.
I would have fallen over in a huff.
Stick with us.
Back on CRN with the Royal Oak Show.
Hi, friends. This is Larry Manetti. Go to LarryManetti.com to get my book, Aloha Magnum. You'll read all about the wonderful guest stars like Carol Burnett, Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, and many, many more. There is an episode guide and my favorite recipes that I really cook at home. I will include a free signed photo with every book. Get Aloha Magnum at LarryManetti.com. Order now. Aloha.
Do you want to fly somewhere, anywhere in the world? Smart travelers call myflightsearch.com for the best deals on flight tickets. Going to Manila, Bangkok, London, how about Singapore? Call myflightsearch.com for the lowest flight tickets available. What about a local vacation? Let's say you want to fly to Vegas, Orlando, Miami, Los Angeles, or Denver. Pick up the phone and call myflightsearch.com right now. We have exclusive deals that you can't find anywhere else. The only way you can get these low airline prices is by calling us. We have so many low prices available, we can't possibly tell them to you right here and now. If you're flying somewhere anytime in the next 6 months and you want the lowest airline ticket prices anywhere, you owe it to yourself to save a ton of money. So pick up your cell phone and call myflightsearch.com right now.
Call 800-445-3166. 800-445-3166. That's 800-445-3166. Call now. 800-445-3166.
Trying to sell your old car? Instead, donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind. Pickup is free and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats, whether they run or not. Call right now and receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to over 50 locations. Call 1-800-785-9618. Donate your car today. That's 1-800-785-9618.
You order a glass of your favorite Cabernet, fresh asparagus, hollandaise on the side, a filet, medium rare. You unfurl your napkin with a flair, close your eyes, and prepare to listen. Ah, there it is. The sweet music you long to hear. The sizzle. The sizzle of a Ruth's Chris steak.
The most magnificent corn-fed prime beef, broiled to perfection at 1800 degrees. Some call it a sizzle. We call it an anthem.
As the waiter approaches, you think, is this one mine or that one?
Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Like Ruth always said, life's too short to eat anywhere else.
Make a reservation online at ruthschris.com or by calling 800-544-0808.
Welcome back to the Royal Oak Show with our co-host Ken Jeffries, our millennial correspondent Connor Oakes. So our final segment, we're going to have our second Moron of the Week candidate. Remember, the first one was the guy who claimed to be the whale whisperer, and he stole $3.3 million from people. So here's our second candidate, a mom in New Jersey. She's got 3 toddlers and little Whiskers, their family's Labrador dog. And so the mom finds a caterpillar and thinks, my goodness, this will be a teachable moment. Well, I'll show my kids how the caterpillar develops into a butterfly, and they raised it and they nurtured it. Yeah, it's nice, and they fed it, and finally the butterfly had sprouted his wings, and he was ready to go out into the world. And so she goes into the backyard with the toddlers and little Whiskers, and she makes kind of a ceremony out of it and tells the children.
Sounds like a great mom.
Yeah, it's going to be wonderful. And so what she does is she has a little package, and she unzips the package, and she carefully opens it, and the butterfly flies up, and he flies to the left just a little bit. Whiskers jumps up and eats the butterfly. in front of the horrified toddlers.
That's a
These
teachable
kids
moment.
are never going to recover from this trauma. PTSD is what it was.
A PTSD-able moment. Yeah.
Right.
No, I
Okay.
mean, you've got to teach kids about the circle of life.
Yeah, well, Mom is our second candidate of Moron of the Week.
That's
Who's
it?
the bigger moron? The man who was the whale whisperer, or was it the mom who
Honestly?
had no common sense to allow whiskers in the same area code as her precious butterfly?
I'm going to say, if I were a parent, I would screw up worse than this mom did every day. And if I were in desperate need of $3.5 million, I think being a whale whisperer would be a decent graft. So I can't really say either one's a moron.
Okay.
If anything, she would be the moron of the week simply because she made less money off it.
How about the people that invested in this whale watcher? They
That
be morons.
real morons. Like, what you're investing $3.5 million based on a guy being like, no, I totally talked to the whales. What did they say?
You know what?
I
But
love
he's
fish.
but I'm voting for him anyway. The man, the
fan.
whale
Yeah,
watcher.
me
guy,
too.
you know.
I'm going for the
Well,
whale
I'm
watcher
outvoted no
guy.
matter what.
By the way, can I just say congratulations to
abstain.
Justify, who has just won the Triple Crown.
Oh, terrific news.
Wow.
So our local trainer makes good.
Is it too late to bet on?
13th Thoroughbred to win the Triple Crown, finishing first at Belmont Stakes.
This just
It's
in,
trainer
breaking
Bob
news.
Baffert's second Triple Crown.
That's neat.
So there we go.
So we've talked about some big stories this week, guys, but I got to
And the
say
bulletins are
maybe
coming in now.
the biggest story of them all we haven't talked about, and that's this. Miss America pageant, no more bathing suits. Absolutely ridiculous.
Ken is distraught.
What is this, a spelling bee now? Why not just give them a blue book and have them write an essay?
That sounds really good.
It is so ridiculous. For Gretchen Carlson, the
Carlson.
former Miss America, and she was on Fox, she says, we are no longer a pageant, we are a competition. We'll no longer judge our candidates on their outward physical appearance. That's a quote from Gretchen Carlson.
Right.
What a load of crap.
So you just don't believe her? Because it wouldn't be a bad thing if they were actually doing that for some reason and changing it because they thought it would be
They're
intrinsically
not putting
better.
burqas on women so you can only see a slit of their eyes. You
Yeah,
still
so
see
it's
their face.
I think
You're
they should
saying
bring
it's
back
inevitable.
what they
Yeah.
should do, though, is bring back the corpse of Burt Parks to sing "There She Is, Miss America."
When you do Olympic gymnastics, you're right; they're not completely covered. We see the people, and I'm sure attractive gymnasts get better treatment, but we don't plan for that, and we at least try to make it sort of appearance blind. I'm okay with
So
that.
what do they appear in? Just regular like business suits, or what do they do?
Ooh,
I
that'd be
think
good.
evening gowns and so on, but
come
they're
as
not
lawyers?
going
No,
to allow
Evening
them.
gowns is gone too.
That's gone to
Yeah.
boy. Well, a columnist in the
Sweatshirts.
in the USA Today said, well, Miss America's Outstanding Teen, that's a different pageant. The contestants have to perform a fitness routine while wearing form-fitting workout attire. The routine includes planks, squats, and jumping jacks. Maybe
Wow.
we should just have the Miss America ladies do jumping jacks instead of wearing a bathing suit.
That
I just
would
think it's
show off
hypocritical.
Slow motion, like in
athleticism.
Baywatch.
It's
Yeah,
a
maybe not.
competition
I take it back.
involving
That sounds
physical
bad, yeah.
appearance, and why don't we just admit it?
Well, yeah.
And by the way, Dennis Rodman apparently is going to North Korea, so that's pretty exciting.
He's going to be the guy. He's going to get the Nobel Peace
We're going to
Prize.
root for.
I'm
a
very
good outcome.
excited.
Gonna grab the rebound
Just
and,
time for Hot Tub Time Machine. And
Ooh.
funny thing, you predicted it, Jose. Please play our Hot Tub Time Machine feature.
Oh God, really?
There she is,
Oh no,
Miss America.
the late great Burt Parks.
There she is,
There she
your
was.
ideal. For many years, Burt Parks, the voice of the pageant. Have a great week, folks. See you again on the Royal Oak Show.
CRN Digital Talk Radio prides itself on being the station of every situation. Of course, you can always listen live through your local cable TV provider, as well as on our website at crntalk.com. But if cutting-edge technology is more your style, you'll be happy to know that CRN is now available on Wi-Fi radio. Simply log on to receiva.com.